Ethan Miller had never expected to travel so far from Earth. He was a human engineer, sent to work on a distant alien colony called Valara 7. The colony was new, and humans had been asked to help with construction and repairs on the alien structures. Ethan had always been careful and precise in his work, but he had never imagined that his skills would one day be tested in a matter of life and death. Valara 7 was surrounded by forests and mountains, places that humans rarely visited. The alien kingdom nearby was ruled by Queen Selene, a tall, elegant woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. Her daughter, Princess Lila, was young but clever, and she had the kind of spirit that both frightened and charmed her people. Ethan had heard stories about her from the other humans and alien workers. They said she was adventurous and sometimes reckless. One morning, Ethan was walking to the work site when he noticed a small group of palace guards rushing past him. Their armor gleamed under the twin suns, and their weapons were drawn. Something was wrong. The humans around him stopped, unsure what to do. Then he heard shouting. From the direction of the palace gardens, Ethan saw a figure running. It was Princess Lila. She had a bright green cloak that flowed behind her, and her face was pale with fear. Behind her, a group of alien mercenaries was charging, their weapons strange and deadly. Without thinking, Ethan ran toward her. He did not know how he would help, but he knew he could not just stand there. The humans and the alien workers froze, unsure if they should intervene. Ethan reached Lila just as one of the mercenaries swung a weapon toward her. Ethan threw himself in front of her. The weapon struck his shoulder, sending him to the ground with a painful cry. Lila screamed, but Ethan quickly pushed her to the side, shielding her from the next attack. He felt blood warm against his uniform, but he ignored the pain. Protecting her became all that mattered. The mercenaries attacked again, but the palace guards arrived just in time. Their weapons fired beams of light that forced the attackers to retreat. In the chaos, Ethan stayed on the ground, holding the princess back, making sure she was safe. When the last attacker ran away, Lila looked at him with wide eyes. You saved me," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan nodded, trying to catch his breath. He looked down at the blood on his uniform and then back at her. I just didn't want anything to happen to you," he said. Lila's eyes shone with gratitude. The palace guards lifted Ethan carefully. They carried him to the infirmary, where alien healers began examining him. His shoulder was badly injured, but it could be healed. The healers worked quickly, using tools that Ethan had never seen before. Light passed over the wound, and he felt warmth spreading through his arm. It hurt less with each moment. Princess Lila followed him to the infirmary. She stayed by his side, holding his hand and asking about his injuries. "Will I be all right?" Ethan asked, though he was more concerned about her safety than his own. Lila smiled faintly. "You saved me. You will be fine," she said. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. Humans had helped aliens before, but he had never imagined anyone would be so thankful. The news of Ethan's bravery spread quickly through the palace. The servants whispered about the human who had risked his life for the princess. Some were impressed, while others were suspicious. Humans were not often heroes in the eyes of the Valaran people. They were clever with machines, yes, but weak in battle and fragile in ways that made many aliens doubt their usefulness. Ethan was about to change that perception. Queen Selene summoned Ethan later that day. She was tall and imposing, with sharp eyes that seemed to look right into his soul. "Human," she said, her voice calm but firm, "you have saved my daughter. That is a deed worthy of respect." Ethan bowed his head. "I only did what anyone would do," he said. Selene studied him silently for a moment, then nodded. "Perhaps. But few humans act as bravely as you. You will stay in the palace until your injuries are healed. The healers say your shoulder will take several days to recover fully." Ethan agreed. He had no choice, really, but he did not mind. Being in the palace meant he could see Lila again, and he wanted to make sure she was safe. During the next few days, he stayed in the infirmary. Lila visited him often, bringing small gifts from her world and even stories about the palace. Ethan had never imagined that he would find the aliens' culture so fascinating. They talked about their worlds. Ethan told her about Earth, its oceans, forests, and cities. Lila listened with wide eyes, imagining the distant planet with its strange humans and creatures. She laughed at some of his stories, especially the ones about animals that behaved unpredictably. Ethan laughed too, even though it hurt sometimes when he moved his shoulder. As Ethan recovered, he noticed that Lila was not like the other young princesses he had heard about. She was curious and intelligent, asking questions about machines and stars, about humans and their history. She wanted to understand, not just be told what was right. Ethan admired that about her. One evening, as the twin suns set behind the palace towers, Lila sat next to Ethan on the edge of the infirmary bed. "You are different from other humans," she said softly. "Other humans seem small, weak, and afraid. You are not." Ethan felt a flush of embarrassment. "I'm not special. I couldn't let anything happen to you," he said. Lila smiled faintly. "I know, but that is why you are special to me." The palace servants began treating Ethan with more respect. They offered him food and comfort, and even the guards nodded at him with a new understanding. Humans, they realized, could have courage and loyalty beyond what they had expected. Ethan's simple actions had begun to change the perception of humans in this alien world. Queen Selene observed all of this quietly. She had seen many humans visit her palace, but none had ever risked their life for her daughter. Some were clever, some were strong, but few had the heart to act so selflessly. She began to feel something she had not expected, a cautious admiration for the human who had saved Lila. During the following days, Ethan continued to recover. He helped with minor repairs in the palace, fixing broken tools and machines, earning more respect from the Velaran workers. Lila stayed close, curious about his work and fascinated by his ability to make things function smoothly. She realized that humans were not as weak as some of her people believed. One day, while walking in the palace gardens, Lila turned to Ethan. "Do you think humans can ever be heroes here?" she asked. Ethan paused, thinking. "I don't know, but maybe if humans try, they can be." Lila nodded thoughtfully. "You have tried. That is enough for me." Ethan felt a strange pride. He was far from home, injured, and surrounded by aliens who looked at him with a mix of curiosity and caution. Yet he felt needed. He felt that his actions mattered in ways he had never imagined. Saving Princess Lila had changed his life, and perhaps the view of humans forever. As the sun set, the palace grew quiet. Ethan sat in the garden, watching the colors of the sky change. He knew his life would not be the same after this day. The world he had entered was strange, but it was also full of possibilities. And somewhere in that world, a young princess looked at him not just as a human visitor, but as someone who had earned her trust with courage and heart. The first part of Ethan's story had begun. The human who saved the princess had arrived in an alien world, wounded but alive, and already making a mark. The palace would never forget the bravery of Ethan Miller, and neither would Princess Lila. And though he did not yet know it, his journey had only begun. Ethan Miller's shoulder had healed enough for him to move without sharp pain, but he still felt weak from the injury. The alien healers told him he would need a few more days to regain full strength. During this time, he remained in the palace, helping with small repairs and learning more about the alien world around him. Each day, Princess Lila visited him, bringing small gifts, fruits from the palace gardens, and sometimes items she thought he would enjoy from Earth. Lila had grown curious about everything Ethan did. She watched closely as he fixed machinery, repaired broken tools, and adjusted delicate devices that the palace workers had struggled with for weeks. "How can you do this so easily?" she asked one afternoon, while Ethan worked on a strange alien device that hummed with light. Ethan wiped his hands on a cloth and smiled. "It's not easy. You just have to understand how it works. Once you see the pattern, the rest is simple." Lila tilted her head. "It looks impossible to me, but you make it look easy." Ethan chuckled. "That's because I've had a lot of practice." She laughed softly. "I wish I could fix things like that." "You could," Ethan said. "You just need to try." Their conversations became a daily routine. Lila told Ethan about life in the palace, about the customs and rules she had to follow. She spoke of her mother, Queen Selene, with a mixture of admiration and frustration. Lila wanted freedom, but she also understood the weight of responsibility her position carried. Ethan listened, genuinely interested, and sometimes offered simple advice. His words were not complicated, but they made her think in ways her tutors never had. One evening, Lila led Ethan to the palace balcony. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. She leaned against the railing, looking at the horizon. "Do humans always come this far to help others?" she asked quietly. Ethan shrugged. "I think most humans try to help when they can. Sometimes we fail, sometimes we succeed. But we try." Lila turned to look at him. "You did more than try. You saved me." Ethan felt a warmth spread through his chest. I couldn't let them hurt you." She nodded slowly, understanding more than words could say. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the suns dip below the distant mountains. The breeze carried the scent of alien flowers, strange but beautiful. And for a moment, Ethan felt calm and at peace. The palace guards and servants had begun to treat Ethan with a new respect. They still remembered the human who had risked his life for the princess. Some were curious about him, asking questions about Earth and how humans lived. Others simply nodded politely when he passed, recognizing his courage and skill. For the first time in his life, Ethan felt that he truly belonged somewhere, even if it was far from home. Despite this, not everyone in the palace trusted him. Queen Selene watched him carefully. She had seen many humans, but none had acted as bravely as Ethan. She respected his courage, but she also worried. Humans were unpredictable, and she was not sure what it meant to have one so close to her daughter. Still, she could not deny the truth. Without Ethan, Princess Lila might not have survived. One morning, as Ethan repaired a broken water pump near the palace garden, a messenger arrived with urgent news. "Princess Lila," the messenger said, bowing deeply, "the council requests your presence. A situation has arisen in the eastern districts." Lila frowned. "I cannot leave the palace right now. Why is this urgent?" The messenger hesitated. "There have been reports of unusual activity, strangers moving through the area. It could threaten the city." Lila turned to Ethan. "Would you come with me? I feel safer if you are there." Ethan shook his head. "I am still recovering. I should not be in the field." She placed her hand on his arm gently. "I do not ask this lightly. I need someone I can trust. You saved my life once. I know you can help me again." Ethan looked at her, seeing the seriousness in her eyes. He knew he could not refuse. "All right," he said quietly. "I will go with you." The two of them traveled through the palace gates and into the eastern districts. The streets were quieter than usual, and Ethan noticed that many of the buildings showed signs of neglect. "Why is this area abandoned?" he asked. Lila frowned. "It is not abandoned, but the council does not care for it much. The people here are poor, and sometimes trouble finds them first." They walked cautiously, alert for any sign of danger. Ethan kept his eyes open, noticing the shadows and listening to the faint sounds around them. Suddenly, they heard a shout. A group of alien thugs emerged from an alley, blocking their path. Their weapons glowed with dangerous energy, and their faces were twisted with anger. "Step aside, princess," one of them said. "This does not concern you." Ethan moved in front of Lila. "It concerns her," he said firmly. "If you want to fight, you will have to go through me first." The thugs laughed, clearly underestimating him. Ethan was human, and they expected humans to be weak. But he was not afraid. He had faced danger before, and he knew he had to protect Lila at all costs. The first thug lunged at him with a short weapon. Ethan dodged quickly, using his agility to avoid the strike. He grabbed a nearby pipe and swung it at the next attacker. The pipe struck the thug's shoulder, making him stumble backward. Lila watched in amazement. Ethan's movements were precise and deliberate, showing skill that surprised even her. The fight continued, and Ethan used every tool at his disposal. He was smaller than the aliens, but he was clever and quick. He dodged, blocked, and struck, protecting the princess while keeping the attackers at bay. After several tense minutes, the thugs realized they could not defeat him and fled into the shadows, leaving the street quiet once more. Lila stepped forward, her eyes wide with admiration. You did it again," she said. Ethan smiled faintly, though he felt the strain in his muscles. "It's not over yet. We should get back to the palace before more trouble arrives." They returned safely, and the incident spread quickly through the palace. Once again, Ethan's bravery became the talk of the court. But this time, the queen took notice in a deeper way. She summoned Ethan to her chambers. "Human," she said, her voice firm but not unkind, "you continue to show courage and loyalty beyond what I expected. You risk your life not once, but twice, to protect my daughter." Ethan bowed. "I only do what is right, Your Majesty." Celine studied him carefully. "Perhaps. But few humans act with such wisdom and courage. You are not like the others. You are remarkable." Ethan looked at her, unsure how to respond. "Thank you," he said simply. Celine nodded slowly. "I want you to remain in the palace for a while longer. I need to understand more about your people, and I want you close to my daughter. Your presence may help her, and it may help us all." Ethan hesitated. He missed Earth and his normal life, but he understood her reasoning. He had begun to feel a connection to Lila, and he knew the palace was a place where his skills and courage mattered. "I will stay, Your Majesty," he said quietly. Over the next days, Ethan's bond with Lila grew stronger. They explored the palace gardens together, worked on repairs, and shared stories of their worlds. Ethan taught her simple Earth games and ideas about machines, while she introduced him to Valaran music, art, and traditions. They laughed and learned from each other, building trust and friendship. Queen Celine watched quietly. She saw the respect Lila had for Ethan and the way he inspired loyalty in the palace staff. At the same time, she felt a growing concern. A human so brave and capable could not simply be allowed to leave. He had become an important figure in her daughter's life and perhaps in the future of her kingdom. Ethan did not know the full weight of the queen's thoughts, but he could sense her watchful eyes. He also knew that the world he had entered was changing him. He was no longer just a human engineer. He was a protector, a friend, and a symbol of courage in a world far from home. The days passed, and Ethan realized that his life had taken a turn he could not have imagined. From a simple engineer, he had become someone the princess trusted with her life. He had faced danger and survived, earning respect from aliens who once thought humans were weak. And yet, the greatest challenges were still ahead. The bond he had formed with Lila and the trust he had gained with Queen Celine would soon be tested in ways he could not yet see. But for now, he rested in the palace, healed in body and strong in spirit, ready for whatever would come next. The human who had saved the princess was no longer just a visitor. He was becoming a part of her world. Ethan Miller had begun to feel comfortable in the palace. His shoulder was fully healed, and he had learned much about the Valaran people and their customs. He had also grown closer to Princess Lila. Their friendship was deepening, built on trust and shared experiences. Every day, Ethan discovered more about this strange alien world, and every day Lila discovered more about humans and their courage. One morning, a loud horn echoed through the palace. Lila was in the garden, practicing her swordsmanship with a Valaran instructor. Ethan watched from a distance, fascinated by her agility and speed. Suddenly, a guard ran toward them, panting heavily. "Princess Lila," the guard said, bowing. "Urgent news from the eastern border. There have been sightings of enemy forces. They are moving closer to the kingdom." Lila's eyes widened. "How many? How strong are they?" The guard shook his head. "We do not know exactly, Your Highness, but they are organized and dangerous. The council fears an attack soon." Lila turned to Ethan. "I think I should go and see this for myself. I want to know what is happening. Will you come with me?" Ethan hesitated. "It might be dangerous, Lila. Perhaps it is better if the palace guards handle it." She shook her head. "I cannot sit and wait while my people face danger. I need someone I can trust. You have saved me before, and I know you can help me again." Ethan looked into her determined eyes. He knew she would go, with or without him. "All right," he said. "I will go with you." They prepared quickly, gathering supplies and weapons. Ethan had never used a Valaran weapon before, but he was quick to learn. Lila handed him a light energy blade, its edge glowing blue. "Be careful," she said. "I will," Ethan replied, gripping the blade tightly. They left the palace under the cover of early morning light. The streets were quiet, and most of the palace staff had not yet begun their day. Ethan and Lila moved swiftly, careful not to attract attention. They reached the eastern border, where the land opened into dense forests and rocky hills. As they advanced, Ethan noticed signs of recent activity. Trees had been broken, and the ground was disturbed. "They were here recently," he said quietly. Lila nodded. "We must be careful. They may still be nearby." Suddenly, a figure appeared from behind a tree. It was a scout from the enemy forces. Ethan reacted quickly, blocking the scout with his blade and forcing him back. Lila moved with precision, striking the scout's weapon aside and knocking him unconscious. Ethan was impressed. Lila's training was strong and her instincts were sharp. He realized that she was more capable than many of the soldiers he had seen. "You are amazing," he said, catching his breath. Lila smiled faintly. "You too. We make a good team." They continued deeper into the forest, moving cautiously. Soon they came upon a small clearing, where several enemy soldiers were setting up camp. Ethan and Lila hid behind large rocks, observing them. "We need a plan," Ethan whispered. "There are too many for us to attack directly." Lila nodded. "We could sneak closer and disrupt their supplies. That might slow them down until reinforcements arrive." Ethan agreed. They crept through the underbrush, careful not to make a sound. Ethan marveled at Lila's stealth. She moved like a shadow, unseen and silent. Together they reached the enemy camp. Ethan spotted a pile of supplies and quietly used his energy blade to cut ropes and spill containers. Lila took down guards silently, using quick, precise strikes. Suddenly, one soldier spotted them. He shouted, and the camp erupted in chaos. Ethan and Lila fought side by side. Ethan was agile and quick, dodging attacks and using his blade to block blows. Lila was fierce, striking with speed and accuracy. Despite being outnumbered, they held their ground. Ethan realized something important. Humans might be physically weaker than some aliens, but their courage, intelligence, and ability to adapt could make them stronger than expected. He felt proud that he was showing the Valaran people a different side of humanity. After a tense fight, the enemy soldiers were forced to retreat. Ethan and Lila stood in the clearing, breathing heavily, covered in sweat and dirt. Lila looked at Ethan, her eyes wide with admiration. "We did it," she said. Ethan smiled faintly. "We did, but we cannot stay here. They may return with more forces." They hurried back to the palace, moving through the forest and over rocky paths. When they arrived, the palace guards rushed to meet them. The news of their success spread quickly, and once again Ethan's bravery became the talk of the court. Queen Selene summoned Ethan that evening. She was seated on her throne, her expression unreadable. "Human," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You have proven yourself again. You have faced danger and protected my daughter without hesitation. That is rare, even among my best soldiers." Ethan bowed. "I only did what was necessary, Your Majesty." Selene studied him carefully. "You are not like other humans I have known. You are brave, loyal, and clever. Your presence in this palace has changed my view of your people. I had thought humans weak and fragile, but you have shown otherwise." Ethan felt a strange sense of pride, but he remained humble. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only want to help and protect Princess Lila." Selene nodded. "And that you have done. But I must consider the future. There may be more threats, and I need someone I can trust fully. You will remain in the palace, not just for your safety, but for the safety of my daughter and my kingdom." Ethan hesitated. He missed Earth and longed for the familiar, but he understood her reasoning. He had already risked his life for Lila, and he realized that staying was not just about obligation. It was about purpose. "I will stay," he said quietly. The following days were filled with preparation. The palace guards trained more rigorously, knowing that another attack could come at any time. Ethan worked closely with them, teaching strategies and sharing insights he had learned from his experiences. Lila joined him in the training sessions, and together they inspired the guards with their courage and skill. One evening, as they rested in the palace garden, Lila turned to Ethan. "Do you ever miss Earth?" she asked softly. Ethan looked at her, thinking. "I do. I miss my home, my friends, and the quiet life I had before all this. But I have learned that sometimes life takes you to places you never expected. And sometimes those places need you more than your old home ever did." Lila nodded. "I understand. You are not just a visitor here anymore. You are part of our world." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had never imagined that he would be seen as more than a human engineer. Here, in a distant alien world, he had earned respect, trust, and friendship. He had saved a princess, fought enemies, and shown the true strength of humanity. As the days passed, Ethan continued to train, repair, and prepare for whatever might come next. He and Lila grew closer, their bond stronger with every shared challenge. Queen Selene watched quietly, her admiration for Ethan growing, but also her caution. A human so brave and capable could not simply be allowed to leave. One night, while walking through the palace halls, Lila spoke again. "Ethan, do you ever wonder why humans are seen as weak?" Ethan shook his head. "I don't know. Maybe some people judge too quickly. Maybe they never see what humans can do when they care about others. Courage is not about size or strength. It's about heart." Lila smiled. "That is why I trust you. You have heart, Ethan, and that is more than most beings have." Ethan felt a deep sense of purpose. He had come to this alien world as a simple engineer, but he had become much more. He was a protector, a friend, and a symbol of humanity's courage. And though challenges still lay ahead, he knew he was ready to face them, with Princess Lila by his side. The human who had saved a princess twice was no longer just an outsider. He was part of a kingdom, part of a family, and part of a story that would change the way the Valaran people saw humans forever. And as he looked at the stars above, Ethan understood that his journey had only just begun.